You have reached Wrestling Soul 200 Review. I'm your man, Red Steele, and today I'll be reviewing from Transform Age of the Primes Venom. Transformers Age of the Primes Venom. But before I get into the actual review, I want to talk about some of the awesome details on this package. Up front here's typical display. I want to show you a figure, now with accessories inside. In the top corner here you have more than meets the eye. Below that you have the Autobot symbol down. There's like 17 steps to transform him. And on the bottom you have an 8+, which is an age requirement for this figure. Here's that packaging. You have two beautiful illustrations of Venom, both in his robot mode and in his cicada mode. On the bottom here says Transformers Age of the Prime. Below that you have Venom. In the corner you have the Hasbro emblem. Then on top of the packaging here, you have Venom. In this corner, this time you have the Takara Tommy logo. Then inside the packaging here, you have this fantastic profile shot of Venom in his robot mode. Below that again you have Transformers Age of the Prime. And down here it says Venom. Here inside the packaging on the very top it says, "Till all are one." In the middle here you have this beautiful montage of some of the Primes. Below that again you have Transformers Age of the Prime. Down here it says it is a deluxe class figure. Then back of the packaging here, on the very top you have Venom. In the middle here, you have all the figures featured. It says it's Venom in his robot mode, Venom in his wing cicada mode, and over here it says it takes 17 steps to get there. Over here you have a picture of Venom with his weapon combined into a super axe. Over here you have the More Than Meets the Eye authentic logo. In the corner you have the Hasbro emblem. Transformers Age of the Primes Venom. Venom was released September 2025 with the suggested retail price of $27.99 and is available at all major retailers. Venom was released along with the other Transformers Age of the Prime Deluxe Class Grade 3 figures, Fireflight, Skydive, and Mycronus Prime. Venom is a Generation 1 inspired figure that converts to his winged cicada mode in 17 steps. His accessories include his axe, blaster, and instructions. Venom stands 5.5 inches tall and he is meant for fans ages 8 and up. Now I'm going to go ahead and convert Venom from his robot mode all the way to his winged cicada mode. But the first thing you want to do before you transform any Transformers, you want to remove all the weapons and accessories. So his blaster and his axe. I'll put these all both off to the side. For the first of the transformation, you got Venom's feet right there and right there. And a hinge shot right there and right there. When you take his foot, you're going to flip it right into the leg just like that. Do that to like that foot, flip it right into the leg just like that. Step number 2, you have these panels on the bottom of the legs right here and right here. You have a hinge shot right there and right there. And with these panels, you want to flip it right up into the leg just like that. Do that to like that panel and flip it right up into the leg just like that. So step number 3, where the thigh meets the hip here, you have a little swivel joint. You want to take the leg now and right that swivel joint, you want to turn it in just like that. Do that to like that other leg piece and turn it in just like that. So step number 4, you have a hinge shot right knee, right here and right here. You want to take this leg piece, you want to flip it right over the thigh just like that. Do that to the other side. Take the other thigh piece and have it flip right into the leg just like that. And step number 5, you have these 2 leg pieces now. You got little tabs and little hooks right there. We'll go ahead and make sure everything lines up perfectly and tab them all together just like that. And step number 6, you have Venom's head right here. You have a double joint hinge nut right here holding the head up. When you hit the head, you want to bring it forward and out just like that. And step number 7, you have Venom's arms, and his arms are kind of swung forward, so what you want to do is you want to swing them out and twist the shoulder forward just like that. Do that to the other side of the arm piece, swing it out, and twist the shoulder piece in just like that. And step number 8, right in the middle of the bicep, you have another swivel joint right there and right there. You want to take these arm pieces now, and you want to flip them up just like that. Do that to the other side of the other arm piece, and flip it up just like that. So step number 9, at the end of these arm pieces you have a fist piece right there and right there. You have a hinge joint right there and right there. Once you the fist, you want to flip it right into the forearm just like that. Do that to the other side to the other fist and flip it right into the forearm just like that. So step number 10, this is a little confusing. You have the double joint hinge joint right there. You want to collapse this forearm over the bicep. When you do that by bringing it in, and it's a little difficult because it's pretty tight, at least on my figure. You just collapse it over the piece just like that. Do that to the other side to that forearm, or bring it right over the bicep just like that. So step number 11, you have these shoulder joints right there and right there. You have the double joint hinge joint right inside there and there. You want to push the shoulder piece in just like that. Do that to the other side, the other shoulder piece, and push it in just like that. And they should both meet in the middle just like that. So step number 12, you have these wing pieces right there and right there. You have a hinge joint right there and right there. You want to take this wing, you want to go and swing it out just like that. Do that to the other side, the other wing piece, and swing it out just like that. So step number 13, you want to this wing piece, you have a swivel joint right there and right there. With that wing piece, you want to go and swing it out just like that. Do that to the other side, go into that wing piece, and swing it out just like that. So step number 14, get the hinge joint right there and right there. You want to take the wing piece now, you just swing it down just like that. Go and do that to the other wing piece and swing it down just like that. And step number 15, we'll turn Venom all the way around. You have all these appendages on his back. We'll take the 2 top appendages, we're going to bring them out just like that, and just like that. We'll take this middle one, you want to make it straight just like that, and just like that. And the bottom one you kind of want to bring out a little bit just like that, and just like that. It kind of forms a little star there. Step number 16, you have these arm pieces now. And these arm pieces go right in this little cavity right here. You get this little tab right there. You want to make sure this tab makes it right into that groove right there. So you do this arm piece, bring it down, and you tab it right into place just like that. Do that to the other side, go and take the arm piece, and bring it right into that tab just like that. So the 17th and final step, you have Venom's head right here. You have that hinge joint right there. And a couple tabs right there, and a couple portholes right there. You want to take that head piece, bring it down just like that. And now you have Venom in this full winged cicada mode. Now that Venom in his winged cicada mode, and on my display table, I just want to go over some of his play features and accessories. First, I talk about his blaster. And according to the instructor, there's a way to arm Venom with this blaster while he's in his insect mode. And you do that because the handle of the blaster is actually a 5mm peg. On the side of Venom here, you have a 5mm porthole. Take that blast and put it right into the porthole just like that. And now you have Venom armed with his blaster while he's in his insect mode. Very, very cool. The next accessory I'm going to bring in is his axe. Also, according to the instructions, there's a way to arm Venom with this axe while he's in his Insecticon mode. You do that. The handle of this axe is actually a 5mm peg. On the other side of Venom here, you have another 5mm porthole. Take that axe and put it right into that porthole just like that. And now you have Venom fully armed with both his blaster and axe while he's in his winged cicada mode. Very cool play feature, but personally, and as many of you might know already, I'm not a big fan of arming my Transformers while they're in their alt mode, unless it plays a part of the transformation, which it does not in this case. And if you're wondering what an alt mode is, an alt mode is anything that's not the robot mode. This is a vehicle mode, an animal mode, in this case a winged cicada mode. So I'm going to use axe and blaster and put them all both off to the side. Because I want to go ahead and talk about Venom and how much of a pleasant surprise he is. Because he is a fantastic figure. And he is actually based on a very obscure faction in the original Generation 1 toy line. And that is the Deluxe Insecticons. And a little backstory behind these Insecticons is, originally Hasbro went out to Japan and scouted out some new toy lines they wanted to bring over to the United States. And they found two toy lines that were produced by Takara. They had the Dieclone toy line, which was jets and cars that transformed into robots. And you also had another toy line called Micromen, which took everyday basic objects that were laying around the house, like cameras or cassette recorders, and that transformed into little robots. They brought that over, and they combined the two toy lines together and rebranded them as Transformers, which is really cool, and that's the first original 84 toy line. Well, Transformers in the United States were a smash hit. So Takara was not the only company that Hasbro brought over in the second year of Transformers, which was the 85 toy line. They went to Bandai and a couple of the toy lines, which you'll see like a lot of design elements are a little bit different than the original car robots and the jets and stuff. Where the Deluxe Insecticons were very different from the actual other regular Insecticons, because the regular Insecticons were actually brought over from the Takara toy line. They were part of the Daikon toy line. Well, the Deluxe Insecticons were actually produced by Takara's rival Bandai. And what happened was a lot of licensing issues that occurred, and I know even with Jetfire, which they had to kind of redesign in the Generation cartoon series as Skyfire, and they had to change a lot of the design elements in both modes to kind of make them pass a lot of the licensing, kind of like get under the radar a little bit. Because as us fans know, we did know that the Jetfire toy was being represented by Skyfire on TV screen, but since there were some legal issues with Golden Harvest, which is the company that produced Robotech, which also brought over the Robotech design and or the Macross design and rebranded it as Robotech at the same time. So, but Hasbro owned the rights to that mold for that toy line that Bandai produced. So it was a very complicating issue, but the Deluxe Insecticons do kind of fall into that category where they weren't able to be animated for Generation cartoon series. You did see them in the Generation 1 comic book in very, very limited roles. But like I said, they weren't really very prominent. And it's a shame because these figures are fantastic. At least the original ones were fantastic. And I am so surprised that they actually ported these over to the Generations toy line. If you're wondering what the Generations toy line is, Generations toy line is the more recent Transformers toy line that covers a lot of different toy lines now, because originally it started off with the War for Cybertron, which is Siege, Earthrise, and Kingdom. They kind of branched over to the Studio series, then a Legacy toy line, which had Legacy, Legacy Evolution, Legacy United, now with Age of the Primes. So there's a lot of toy lines, and the cool thing they did with those toy lines was they scaled them where they're more consistent with one another. And arming the weapons is more standardized too, where they're all 5mm pegs, where the fists will have all 5mm bore holes. So now you can arm any Transformers with any weapon throughout that whole toy line. Unlike Generation 1, where whatever weapon came with that Transformer was most likely the only Transformer that could use that weapon because there wasn't a standardized way to arm your Transformers. But this is really cool that they brought this figure over, and lots of play features and design elements did carry over from the original figure, which I do have on hand to do a side-by-side comparison. I mean, for a figure that was produced back in the 80s, they did a fantastic job. And back in the 80s, they liked to use die-cast, so they used die-cast metal for this chest plate right here on the top of the cicada. And what I thought was really cool was they put that play feature in where the cicada feeds, that little appendage right here that sticks out, and they actually did carry that design element over to the Age of the Primes version of Venom, which I thought was fantastic. Yeah, that little hinge joint right there where it makes it possible where you could feed using that appendage, and then it folds back in. Then you can have the headpiece right here where you have the eyes on the side here. You have this little piece right here, which I'm not sure what this is supposed to simulate, a mouth of some sort, but it's molded out of translucent red plastic, which the original figure just had a painted, painted feature right there where this piece was painted red and this piece was painted red. There wasn't a lot of light piping, or that was not invented yet, so you didn't have a lot of translucent plastic. But you did have translucent plastic filled wings here. They go in and out, and my Venom is a little damaged because right here you see a little piece of the wing, so the wing might break off if I attempt to bring it up. This one's a little bit stronger, but I mean this part's still pretty tight for a figure this old. It was in and out, up and down. And that's a design element that did carry over from the original Generation 1 toy that did carry over to the Age of the Primes version of Venom. It was up and down and in and out, which is very cool. The one difference I know they made was right here in the middle here, they went ahead and molded out of red translucent plastic, which is a nice little change. You see the metallic underneath it, so they probably have like a metallic paint scheme underneath where it kind of shines underneath. You had a lot of design elements right here that carried over from the Generation 1 toy, which I thought was really, really cool. But it's a nicely done figure, and I'm very happy with this figure and how they brought it out. I never thought that they would bring out Venom, and I know that they brought out the Deluxe Insecticons in some form or another throughout the Generations toy line. And I know a lot of the Deluxe Insecticons did come in like multi-pack exclusives. I think he may be the only one that was released in an individual mainline figure, which I thought was really, really cool. But he is the leader of the Deluxe Insecticons, and I may own the other three in one form or another. I just haven't opened them up yet, so I did not have them on hand do a side-by-side comparison, because I would like to have all 4 Deluxe Insecticons. Maybe if I review one of the other Deluxe Insecticons, I'll get to the point where I'll have all 4 out of their packages, but I do a, like line them all up and just show you that all 4 have made it into the more recent toy line. So I'm going to go rotate this around so you can see what it looks like in all angles in his Wing Cicada mode, but he is a fantastic figure. Highly recommend picking him up. He is a cool addition to the Generation toy line. Now that Venom in his robot mode and on my display table, I once again want to go over some of his play features and accessories. First by talking about his blaster. According to the instructions, we're going to arm Venom with this blaster while he's in his robot mode. And you do that because the handle of the blaster is actually a 5mm peg. Each one of his fists is a 5mm porthole. Plug that blaster into one of his hands just like that. And now you have Venom armed with this blaster while he's in his robot mode. The next accessory I want to go and bring in is his axe. And also according to the instructions, we're going to arm Venom with this axe while he's in his robot mode. It's the handle of the axe right here, it's a 5mm peg. Side of his fist again, 5mm porthole. You take that axe, plug it right into his fist just like that. And now you have Venom armed with both his blaster and axe while he's in his robot mode. Very, very cool. But there's also a third way to arm Venom. That's by taking the axe and the blaster, and you gotta combine them together, because at the top of the blaster right here, you have a porthole. You take that axe, you plug it right into the top of the blaster, just like that. And right here, the barrel of the blaster is actually the handle of the blaster, which is a 5mm peg. You take that, you plug it right into his fist, and now you have Venom armed with his Super Blaster axe. Very, very cool. But I'm not a big fan of displaying my figure with that, because that's not very canon with what actually the Generation 1 toy had. The Generation 1 toy did not have that play feature with the axe, blade, and the blaster combined together. But I think it's really excellent that they actually went and did that, because the original Venom axe did not have a handle at all, just a blade. I'm going to go ahead and take that blaster and plug it right back into his fist, and take that axe blade, or that axe, and plug it right into the other fist. So I want to go ahead and talk about Venom. Venom is really, really cool. And he actually a huge improvement over the Generation 1 toy, because, I mean, the consistency and the scale right here was more proportional. I like the fact that they went ahead and molded the midsection out of red plastic, translucent plastic, where there's maybe a silver plastic piece underneath it to kind of make it shine a little bit. Very, very nicely done. I mean, there's lots of points of articulation. You have knee articulation, you have thigh swivel, you have hip articulation, you have toe articulation, you have waist articulation, you have shoulder, elbow, bicep swivel, you have fist, and you have head, of course, which has lots of points of articulation, which is really cool because, I mean, Generation 1 toy, we all know they weren't very known for their points of articulation. I'm going to go ahead and bring my Generation 1 toy in here because this figure was very fragile, and I thought I was going to snap off that broken wing right here when I swing this around, because this is a very tight joint. And with it translucent plastic, it kind of bends, and I think it's this one right here. See that little crease right here, so I was very fearful for that. But like I said, a lot of design elements did carry over from the Generation 1 toy into the Age of the Primes version of Venom. I mean, at the wings right here, where they don't interfere with the arm too much. And I know there's points of articulation in this figure, which is very different because this was produced by Bandai, and Bandai did kind of emphasize more on articulation, where you have the knee articulation. You have like thigh swivel right there. But I mean, there's limited articulation. You still have the arm articulation that goes up and down, which is very, very nice. So Bandai did attempt to add some points of articulation to the toys back then, but I mean, it's not like it is nowadays where you have like knee, you have thigh, but the figure, which is kind of considered a lot of the other toy lines, has a hard time standing, so I'm not sure if I'm going to get Venom to be able to stand on his own, which stinks because, let me see if I got him, yeah, I got him to stand on his own, but very, very cool. But I'm going to go rotate him around so you can see all the similarities and differences all on your own. A lot of design elements did carry over. With the wing here, just kind of getting the way of the arm, where I kind of got to position the arm kind of out and bent, kind of like posed in his display pose with both of his weapons. You got kind of like that wing interfering right there, which kind of stinks. If I rotate all around, you see a lot of design elements. You have the appendages in the back right here that kind of carried over. They didn't do that design element right there where in the center of the back you have that little insignia right there. But what stinks too is you have the hollowed out leg piece, which kind of was engineering issue with the transformation, but they tried to fill it in with this little piece where it kind of covered up a little bit. But it's not a big deal because how many collectors are going to have the figures displayed with the figure facing back? But I'm going to go ahead and put the Generation 1 toy off to the side. But if you guys found any of the information in this video valuable, please like and share this video. Also, if you enjoy my content, please subscribe to my channel. And while you're there, click the bell to be notified of any future videos. Well, thank you guys for watching Steele's Toy Collector Review. I'll check you guys out next time.